Good afternoon, YouTube. Railroader fans. Come on. Oh, I can't. Oh, hey. What? Hey, there we go. Good afternoon. I'm Ray. It's been a while. Been tied up in some stuff. Been working, doing a lot of things. Trying to get things straightened out with my mom's house, so on and so forth. But anyway, like I said, I know it's been a while. It's the 18th of July, 2015. Doing this one a little bit early, I understand. Like I said, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon here, right about now. Anyway, doing this one a little bit early because there's a couple things. Number one, I gotta work at church a little bit later this afternoon. Number one. Number two, tonight is the YouTube Model Builders live show. 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. I got it right for a change. I know Big Bill isn't on there tonight, but I know that Tariq is going to be on there, and obviously Barry, and I think Modeler Man Mike, and a couple other folks, so I'm definitely going to be tuning into that. Anywho, interesting thing this week, a buddy of mine at work, actually him and I have been talking for about daggone it, I hit the bench again. Been talking for a couple of months now, and he texted me while he was on his way into work the other day. He says, "Hey man, you in the office today?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in the office." And he says, "I've got something in the car. I'm bringing it over that might interest you. I want you to take a look at it." All right, fair enough. Sorry, I'm getting it out of the box as we're talking here, but so anyway. He brings in this little container that I just got finished going into, and what he's got is an older, I'm thinking it's probably mid to late 60s, maybe early 70s. It's a Mantua. It's a 462. There it is. It's all die cast. It's painted up for the Santa Fe. It's a very heavy locomotive. Doesn't look like it's been run much, if at all. But one of its issues is the fact that it's got a couple of broken parts. Not a big deal. I can fix that. And it needs a good cleaning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig into this thing. And one of the other problems it's got is the coupler is broken off the tender. I'm not sure if I've got any spare couplers. Or I've got plenty of horn hooks, but I'm not sure if I've got one that'll fit this particular locomotive. Not a big deal because he's not planning on running it anytime soon or using it anytime soon, but I told him I said I'd get it cleaned up for him and see if it runs and so on and so forth, because obviously that's 90% of the ball game. If it runs, we can I can get parts. That's not a problem. I can do my searches on eBay and catch up with you all. I'm sure somebody out there has probably got a bunch of those horn hooks floating around that might fit this thing, but like I said, regardless, this thing is about, like I said, it's probably about a mid-60s, or mid to late 60s, early 70s model. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here for a second. I'm going to go ahead and get the workbench, somewhat straightened out here, because I was still, obviously, the big build, I haven't touched it, but I've still got all that stuff sitting up here, and I had to do some work around the house. And unfortunately, since this is a dual-action workbench, meaning that there's parts in here for railroad, and there's also parts in here for doing work around the house. Anyway, so let me go ahead and get set up on this thing, and we'll be right back. Alright, we'll see how this plays out here, but anyway, here's the locomotive sitting on the piece of foam that I use for working on locomotives. I think we've talked about this once before, at least once. So what I'm going to do first, actually, is unfortunately, I think I'm going to need to bring the light down here so I can see what's going on, which means things might get a little bit bright. It's the one thing that stinks about getting old, you can't see anymore. And there is a whole bunch of junk in here. Looks like cat hair. The nice thing about having a trash can right off to the side. Get as much of this out of the drive system as I can from here. I was trying to look at this step up front that was a little out of kilter. Alright, let's see what we got here. Actually, it looks like it's in pretty decent shape otherwise, so let's go ahead and take the mechanism apart now. Oh, wait a minute. More hair. That looks pretty good now. Sorry if this is somewhat boring, but, you know, hey. Like I said, I'm sure my maintenance things are a little bit different than everybody else's, but that's okay. To each his own. Actually, I don't need that right in my face right now. I can actually see the screws. Love these jeweler screwdrivers. If you don't have a set, invest in a set, because these things are absolutely a necessity when you're working on your fleet, whether it be your steam locomotives or even your diesels, because right now I'm just trying to lift the plate off without losing the screws. Look at that. All in one nice little piece. Now, let's see, we got a screw up there. This only gets me so far, and this doesn't get me where I want to be, actually. Well, that was an exercise in futility. Live and learn. That didn't actually do what I wanted it to do. I need to get into where the motor is, and I thought that that would do it, and it didn't. That just gets me to where the gearing and all is, which is fine. Sometimes you have to explore, because unfortunately there isn't always a manual for this stuff. You know, you kind of have to figure it out on your own, if you know what I mean. And of course, some of the other old timers on here are probably laughing by now, but that's beside the point. Like I said, you know, I've been in and out of the hobby, and it's been a while, but you know, over the last few years, I've done a lot of work on my stuff, and this is actually the first time I think I've ever actually had to do any type of maintenance on a Mantua locomotive, or even had the opportunity to do maintenance on a Mantua. So looks like I'm going to have to remove the pilot wheels, which are spring loaded, of course. Make sure I don't lose any of those parts, because I got to take the pilot screw out. look at that. Okay. Now, does this come loose? Sort of. Actually, might be a better idea. To remove the tender. Now, it's interesting to me that here it is, Mantua built this wonderful locomotive. It's all die-cast. But the tender is plastic and is light as heck. You know what I mean? I mean, there's really no weight at all to the tender. And something is still holding this thing in place, and I don't know what it is. Doesn't appear to be. Well, that's fascinating. Screw through the smokestack. And there we are. There is our wonderful motor. And that's what I really wanted to see. Or get to, because there's all sorts of garbage around it too. Okay. Now, just for grins here. Nice. Alright, so I've still got a little bit of work to do in here. I'm going to go ahead and do some cleanup, and I'll be right back. Alright, I know my time is getting close, I think, but what we're going to do here is we're going to put a little bit of oil around the bearing, the motor bearings, and just help to let it run a little bit smoother. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this dry lube, which haven't been real pleased with, but put a little bit of that in there, and then we'll fire it up again. Amazing how much quieter it is already. Sounds pretty decent. So, alright, let me go ahead and do a little bit more on this. Actually, I'll show you one other thing that I do, and that's just put a little bit of, just put a drop of oil on the pivot points here. You don't want a whole lot, and you do that on both sides. So, anyway, I'm going to stop here for a second. Sorry for the abrupt ending here, but we're going to go on to part 2 from here, so stay tuned.